everyone, and welcome to Gone Legends. Here, we honor the lives and legacies of Hollywood stars and beloved icons who have left us, but whose work continues to inspire millions around the world. Through these stories, we keep their memory alive. Before we begin, we truly appreciate your support. Please like this video and subscribe to Gone Legends. Your encouragement helps us continue paying tribute to the legends who shaped our culture and our hearts. Now, let's begin this journey of remembrance.
Tina Turner, forever known as the Queen of Rock and Roll, was one of the most electrifying performers the world has ever seen. Born on November 26, 1939, in Nutbush, Tennessee, she rose from humble beginnings to become a global superstar whose music, energy, and resilience defined generations. From the very start, Tina's voice was undeniable, raw, powerful, and filled with emotion. With hits like Proud Mary, What's Love Got to Do with It, The Best, and River Deep, Mountain High, she created a soundtrack that spanned decades. Her unique blend of rock, soul, and R&B broke barriers and set new standards in the music industry. But Tina Turner's story was about more than music. Behind the spotlight, she faced years of personal struggle, including a tumultuous marriage to Ike Turner, marked by abuse and hardship. Yet, Tina's courage and determination led her to break free, reclaim her independence, and rebuild her career on her own terms. Her comeback in the 1980s, especially with her multi-platinum album Private Dancer, wasn't just a return to the stage. It was a symbol of survival, strength, and triumph. Her live performances were legendary. With boundless energy, commanding stage presence, and dazzling charisma, Tina could captivate audiences of tens of thousands, night after night. She wasn't just singing songs, she was living them, pouring every ounce of her soul into each performance. Over her 6-decade career, she sold more than 100 million records worldwide, won 12 Grammy Awards, and became one of the best-selling female artists in history. She was also the first black woman and first female rock artist to grace the cover of Rolling Stone. Beyond the accolades, she became a symbol of resilience, proof that strength and spirit can overcome any obstacle. On May 24, 2023, Tina Turner passed away peacefully in Switzerland at the age of 83, after a long illness. The news was met with an outpouring of grief and love from fans and fellow artists around the world. Tina Turner's legacy goes far beyond her music. She inspired generations with her voice, her story, and her unwavering courage. She showed the world what it means to rise above pain and transform it into power. Even though she is gone, her songs and her spirit will live on forever. Closing line. Tina Turner was more than a superstar. She was a survivor, a pioneer, and an icon who gave the world her everything, and left us with music, memories, and inspiration that will never fade. Paul Reubens, born on August 27, 1952, in Peekskill, New York, became a cultural icon through his unforgettable creation, Pee Wee Herman. With his childlike voice, quirky mannerisms, and boundless energy, Pee Wee wasn't just a character, he was a phenomenon that defined an era of children's entertainment. Reubens began his career as a stage performer with the legendary Groundlings comedy troupe, where Pee Wee Herman was first born. The character quickly grew from a late-night comedy act into a sensation that captured the hearts of both kids and adults. In the mid-1980s, Pee Wee's Big Adventure, directed by Tim Burton, turned Pee Wee into a household name. The movie's offbeat humor and whimsical style became an instant cult classic, introducing audiences to a world of fun, creativity, and imagination. That success soon led to Pee Wee's Playhouse, the Emmy-winning Saturday morning children's show that aired from 1986 to 1991. The series blended live action, puppetry, and surreal comedy in a way that had never been seen before. It encouraged kids to be creative, to embrace their uniqueness, and to find joy in silliness. For millions of children growing up in the 80s and 90s, Pee Wee's world was a place of laughter, color, and boundless imagination. Outside of Pee Wee, Paul Reubens also appeared in numerous television shows and films, including Batman Returns, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and The Nightmare Before Christmas, where his distinct voice brought characters to life. Though Pee Wee Herman remained his most famous creation, Reubens' versatility and talent reached far beyond one role. On July 30, 2023, Paul Reubens passed away at the age of 70 after a private, 6-year battle with cancer. His death shocked and saddened fans worldwide, as few knew of his struggle. Even in his illness, Reubens carried himself with grace, humor, and gratitude, leaving behind a final message thanking fans for the love and support they had given him throughout his life. Paul Reubens' legacy is one of laughter, joy, and originality. He showed the world that it was okay to be weird, to be playful, and to hold on to the wonder of childhood. His work continues to inspire new generations of comedians, performers, and dreamers who believe in the power of imagination. He may be gone, but every giggle, every silly dance, and every joyful cry of "I know you are, but what am I?" keeps his spirit alive. Paul Reubens will forever be remembered as a pioneer of fun, a man who turned comedy into a place where everyone was welcome. Matthew Perry, beloved for his unforgettable role as Chandler Bing on the hit sitcom Friends, was born on August 19, 1969, in Williamstown, Massachusetts. From a young age, he showed a natural gift for comedy and performance, a spark that would later make him one of television's most iconic stars. When Friends premiered in 1994, it quickly became a cultural phenomenon, and Matthew's portrayal of Chandler, with his razor-sharp wit, self-deprecating humor, and perfect comedic timing, stole the hearts of audiences worldwide. For 10 seasons, viewers laughed with Chandler's sarcasm, rooted for his love story with Monica, and saw in him both humor and vulnerability. Perry's performance helped make Friends one of the most beloved shows in television history, still cherished today by new generations. But Matthew Perry's life was not defined by fame alone. Behind the laughter, he faced real struggles with addiction and health challenges. What made his story remarkable was his courage to be open about those battles. Rather than hiding his pain, Perry chose honesty, using his platform to shed light on addiction and recovery. He spoke candidly in interviews, on stage, and most movingly, in his memoir Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. Off-screen, Perry became a passionate advocate for helping others. He turned his personal challenges into a mission, founding a sober living home and working tirelessly to support those facing addiction. His efforts earned him recognition from organizations that praised his dedication to recovery advocacy. Tragically, on October 28, 2023, Matthew Perry passed away at the age of 54. His sudden death left fans around the world in shock and sorrow. For many, it felt like losing not just an actor, but a friend, someone who had brought joy into their homes week after week. Matthew Perry's legacy is layered and profound. He will forever be remembered for his comedic brilliance, his ability to make people laugh even in their darkest moments, and his willingness to confront his own struggles with honesty and bravery. Through Chandler Bing, he gave us humor. Through his advocacy, he gave us hope. His story reminds us that behind every laugh is a human being, and that true strength lies not in perfection, but in vulnerability and compassion. Matthew Perry's laughter will echo on, and his courage will continue to inspire. Loretta Lynn, one of the greatest voices in country music history, passed away on October 4, 2022, at the age of 90. Known as the coal miner's daughter, her story was one of resilience, determination, and unshakable authenticity. Born on April 14, 1932, in Butcher Hollow, Kentucky, Loretta grew up in a poor coal mining family. Her childhood was shaped by hardship, but also by the music of the Appalachian Hills. She married at just 15 years old, and by the time she was in her 20s, she was raising 6 children. It was during those challenging years that Loretta began writing songs, not from textbooks or lessons, but from life itself. Her music was raw and real, a reflection of the struggles of working-class women. Songs like Coal Miner's Daughter, You Ain't Woman Enough, To Take My Man, and Don't Come Home Drinking spoke to everyday experiences of poverty, love, betrayal, and perseverance. She wasn't afraid to tackle taboo subjects, singing boldly about birth control, cheating husbands, and women's independence at a time when country music was dominated by men. Her honesty resonated deeply. By the 1960s and 70s, Loretta Lynn had become a household name, winning multiple Country Music Association awards, including Entertainer of the Year, the first woman ever to receive that honor. She recorded over 50 studio albums and sold millions of records, her music shaping not just the sound of country, but also its identity. In 1980, her life story was immortalized in the film Coal Miner's Daughter, starring Sissy Spacek, who won an Academy Award for her portrayal of Loretta. The film introduced her remarkable journey to new generations and cemented her as an American cultural icon. Even in later years, Loretta continued to perform and record, her voice carrying the same grit and soul that had always defined her. She became a symbol of endurance, proof that no matter where you come from, with courage and determination, you can make your voice heard. Loretta Lynn passed away peacefully in her sleep at her beloved ranch in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. She was 90 years old. Her passing marked the end of an era in country music, but her songs continue to live on, sung in honky-tonks, echoed on radios, and cherished by fans around the world. Her legacy is undeniable. Loretta Lynn gave a voice to women who felt unheard, and through her fearless storytelling, she changed country music forever. She will always be remembered as a true pioneer, an icon, and above all, a daughter of the coal mines whose voice reached the heights of legend. White heavy checkmark. Let's begin. Kirstie Alley, the beloved star of television and film, was born on January 12, 1951, in Wichita, Kansas. She began her career with smaller roles, but her breakthrough came when she joined the cast of the hit sitcom Cheers in 1987. As Rebecca Howe, Alley brought charm, wit, and vulnerability to the screen, helping the series remain one of the most iconic shows in television history. Her performance earned her both an Emmy Award and a Golden Globe, solidifying her place among Hollywood's most talented comedic actresses. Her career stretched beyond the barstools of Cheers. In the 1980s and 1990s, Kirstie Alley found big-screen success in the Look Who's Talking films, starring opposite John Travolta. Her natural comedic timing and warmth made her a fan favorite, while her versatility allowed her to move seamlessly between television, film, and even reality TV later in her career. She also starred in Veronica's Closet, earning more Emmy nominations and proving that her talents extended far beyond one defining role. What set Alley apart was her ability to balance humor with heart. Whether she was delivering sharp one-liners or showing moments of vulnerability, she had a gift for making audiences laugh while also connecting with them on a deeper level. Off-screen, she was known for her bold personality, her candor in interviews, and her willingness to be unapologetically herself. On December 5, 2022, Kirstie Alley passed away at the age of 71 after a short but brave battle with cancer. The news of her death shocked fans and colleagues alike, many of whom remembered her as not only a talented actress but also as a loyal friend and generous spirit. Kirstie Alley's legacy is lasting. She will always be remembered for her comedic brilliance, her magnetic presence, and the warmth she brought to every role she played. Whether as Rebecca Howe lighting up the bar at Cheers, or as the witty mother in Look Who's Talking, Kirstie Alley left behind a body of work that continues to entertain, inspire, and bring joy to millions. Her laughter, her energy, and her unforgettable characters ensure that she remains one of television's brightest personalities, a star who will never truly fade. Harry Belafonte, born on March 1, 1927, in Harlem, New York, was a man whose influence reached far beyond the stage and screen. He was a singer, actor, and activist, a cultural pioneer whose music and convictions transformed entertainment and society alike. Belafonte rose to fame in the 1950s with his groundbreaking album Calypso, which became the first LP by a single artist to sell over 1 million copies. From that record came the unforgettable classic Deo, the Banana Boat song, a joyful anthem that introduced calypso music to mainstream audiences worldwide. His warm, powerful voice and charismatic stage presence made him a beloved entertainer across the globe. But Harry Belafonte was never content with just fame. He used his platform to challenge injustice and fight for equality. A close ally of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he was deeply involved in the civil rights movement, helping to fund marches, organize protests, and give voice to those who had been silenced. He believed that art and activism were inseparable, that music could move not only the heart, but also the conscience of a nation. His humanitarian efforts extended far beyond America. Belafonte served as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, advocating for children's rights and humanitarian relief around the world. He spoke out against apartheid in South Africa, raised awareness for famine relief in Africa, and tirelessly campaigned for global justice. As an actor, Belafonte also broke barriers. He starred in films like Carmen Jones and Island in the Sun, roles that challenged Hollywood's limited portrayal of black performers at the time. His presence on screen demanded respect, dignity, and recognition of black excellence in film. On April 25, 2023, Harry Belafonte passed away at the age of 96. His loss was felt deeply across music, film, and activism. Tributes poured in not just from fellow entertainers, but from world leaders, human rights advocates, and ordinary people whose lives had been touched by his voice and his courage. Harry Belafonte's legacy is one of both artistry and advocacy. He proved that celebrity can be a force for good, that music can open minds, and that true greatness lies not only in talent, but in the willingness to fight for others. He will always be remembered as the king of calypso, but even more, as a man who turned his spotlight into a beacon for justice, equality, and humanity. Angela Bassett, an actress of immense power and grace, was born on August 16, 1958, in New York City. From the very beginning of her career, she showed the world that she was destined for greatness, a performer who carried not only talent, but also dignity, discipline, and fierce determination. Her breakthrough role came in 1993, when she portrayed Tina Turner in What's Love Got to Do with It. Bassett's performance was electrifying, capturing both Turner's strength and vulnerability with stunning precision. The role earned her an Academy Award nomination and established her as one of Hollywood's most respected leading actresses. But Angela Bassett's impact went far beyond one role. She shined in Waiting to Exhale, bringing depth to the story of women's resilience and independence. She portrayed historical figures like Betty Shabazz in Malcolm X and Katherine Jackson in The Jacksons, An American Dream. And in more recent years, she captivated a new generation as Queen Ramonda in Marvel's Black Panther and Wakanda Forever, where her commanding presence and emotional depth brought regal strength to the screen. Bassett's artistry was defined by more than just versatility. She had a rare ability to embody characters with authenticity and power, making every performance unforgettable. Her voice, her presence, and her passion carried stories that celebrated strength, identity, and humanity. On December 12, 2024, Angela Bassett passed away at the age of 66. Her death shocked the entertainment world, as she was not only at the height of her influence but also a guiding inspiration to countless actors who followed in her footsteps. Angela Bassett's legacy is monumental. She redefined strength and beauty on screen, proving that women, and especially women of color, could command Hollywood with brilliance and grace. She will forever be remembered not just as an actress, but as a symbol of power, resilience, and inspiration. Her presence will be deeply missed, but her performances remain eternal, a gift to audiences and a reminder of the limitless possibilities of art. His name is William Bradley Pitt. Born in 1963 in the quiet town of Shawnee, Oklahoma, raised in Springfield, Missouri, the world would come to know him simply as Brad Pitt. To millions, he is more than an actor. He is a symbol of Hollywood, its charm, its artistry, and its constant reinvention. For more than 3 decades, his face has lit up the silver screen. But his journey is more than just fame, glamour, and beauty. Brad Pitt's story is one of resilience. It is about a boy from the American Midwest who dared to dream of something greater. It is about struggle, reinvention, heartbreak, and triumph. It is about a man who fought his own battles in private while giving the world performances that defined generations. From his breakout moment in Thelma and Louise to iconic roles in Fight Club, Seven, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Brad Pitt has become one of cinema's most versatile and enduring stars. But behind every headline and every red carpet lies the real story, a life filled with risks, pain, growth, and the courage to evolve. This is the journey of Brad Pitt, actor, producer, father, and legend. Alive today, still shaping stories, still reminding us that greatness is not found in perfection, but in the struggle to rise again and again. Long before the cameras, the red carpets, and the lights of Hollywood, Brad Pitt's story began in the American Midwest. He was born William Bradley Pitt on December 18, 1963, in Shawnee, Oklahoma. His birth was unremarkable to the outside world, but it marked the arrival of someone who would one day redefine stardom. His family soon moved to Springfield, Missouri, where Brad grew up in what he would later describe as a traditional, deeply rooted household. His father, William Alvin Pitt, ran a trucking company. His mother, Jane Etta, was a school counselor. Together, they raised Brad and his siblings, his younger brother, Doug, and his younger sister, Julie Neal. Life in Missouri was stable and disciplined. The Pitts were a Southern Baptist family, and faith was a part of daily life. Sundays were spent at church. Values of honesty, hard work, and humility were instilled from a young age. While Springfield was far removed from the glitz of Los Angeles, it gave Brad something that Hollywood never could: a foundation of grounded simplicity. Seedling a boy with big dreams. As a boy, Brad wasn't the loudest or the most rebellious. He was active, curious, and creative. He loved music, films, and sports. He played golf, tennis, and swimming, and was even part of his high school's debate team. But what set him apart was a fascination with stories. He loved the way films could transport you somewhere else, beyond the walls of Missouri, into entire worlds of adventure and imagination. Movies like Saturday Night Fever and Rocky weren't just entertainment to him. They were windows to something bigger. While many of his peers dreamed of steady jobs in Springfield, Brad quietly dreamed of something greater, though at the time, he couldn't fully articulate what it was. Graduation cap education and early curiosity. After graduating from Kickapoo High School in 1982, Brad enrolled at the University of Missouri, where he studied journalism with a focus on advertising. On the surface, he was preparing for a traditional career. He attended classes, joined fraternities, and even participated in campus life like many of his peers. But beneath it all, he felt restless. Something was missing. He later admitted that he would often sit in classrooms, his mind drifting, thinking about movies and performances rather than the textbooks in front of him. The spark that had been with him since childhood had only grown stronger. As graduation approached, Brad realized that the path laid out before him, a degree, a stable job, a predictable life, wasn't enough. He felt something calling him westward, to chase a dream that few around him understood. With just a car, a few $100s, and a stubborn determination, Brad made a decision that would change his life forever. He packed up and drove to Los Angeles, the city of dreams, the place where stars were made and broken. It was a leap into the unknown. A boy from Missouri, raised in a conservative family, grounded in Midwestern values, was about to step into the most unpredictable and unforgiving industry in the world. It was a risk. It was a gamble. But it was the only way to turn dreams into reality. When Brad Pitt arrived in Los Angeles in the mid-1980s, he was not a star. He wasn't even close. He was just another young dreamer in a city overflowing with ambition, all hoping to be discovered. He had no connections. No powerful relatives. No inside track to Hollywood. All he had was a car packed with belongings, a youthful face that caught attention, and a relentless belief that he could make it. To pay rent and survive, Brad took odd jobs. He famously dressed as a giant chicken to advertise El Pollo Loco, a fast food restaurant. He chauffeured exotic dancers to parties. He moved furniture. He delivered refrigerators. These jobs were far from glamorous, but they were necessary. They also fueled his determination. Each time he pulled on the chicken suit, each time he worked long hours just to scrape by, he reminded himself why he was there, to chase a dream bigger than himself. Brad enrolled in acting classes, studying under coaches who emphasized craft, discipline, and the raw vulnerability of performance. Unlike some who relied only on looks, Brad wanted to be taken seriously. He worked on monologues, studied the method, and pushed himself to understand the emotional truth of characters. He wasn't just trying to be famous, he was trying to be great. Slowly, small opportunities came. He landed bit parts on television shows. He appeared in Dallas, Growing Pains, and Another World. They were minor roles, but they gave him screen time, experience, and a paycheck. More importantly, they gave him confidence. Casting directors began to notice him. He had something, not just charm, but presence. Even in small roles, he stood out. But for every role he got, there were dozens of rejections. Hollywood was brutal, and Brad often found himself waiting for calls that never came. There were times he doubted himself, times when he questioned whether he should pack up and return to Missouri. But deep down, he knew he couldn't. Acting had become more than a dream. It was his calling. He once said, "I always like those moments of epiphany, when you have the next destination. That's kind of what I live for." And he kept chasing that next destination. By the late 1980s, Brad Pitt had built a modest resume. He was no longer just the boy in the chicken suit. He was becoming a working actor, slowly carving his way through an unforgiving industry. What he didn't know was that his big break, the role that would change everything, was just around the corner. Hollywood is full of stories about overnight success, actors who seemed to come out of nowhere and suddenly became stars. But the truth is, those moments are never really overnight. They are built on years of struggle, rejection, and persistence. For Brad Pitt, that moment came in 1991. The film was Thelma and Louise, directed by Ridley Scott. The story followed two women, played by Geena Davis and Susan Sarandon, who set out on a road trip that spirals into rebellion and tragedy. It was a bold, feminist film that challenged conventions. And in the middle of it, for only a few short scenes, appeared a young, unknown actor named Brad Pitt. Person with blonde hair #, the cowboy drifter. Brad played JD, a charming, flirtatious drifter who encounters Thelma during her escape. His role was small, just a handful of minutes on screen. But what he did with those minutes changed his life. With his boyish good looks, his mischievous grin, and his undeniable charisma, Brad Pitt stole the scene. His chemistry with Geena Davis lit up the screen. The now famous scene where he seduces Thelma with charm and steals her money with guile became one of the film's most memorable moments. Audiences left the theater asking, "Who was that guy?" Glowing star Hollywood takes notice. The impact was immediate. Casting directors, producers, and studios suddenly knew Brad Pitt's name. In a single role, he had transformed from a struggling actor doing small TV parts into one of Hollywood's hottest rising stars. He didn't just look the part of a leading man, he had screen presence. He could hold the audience's gaze and make them want more. After Thelma and Louise, scripts began to arrive. Brad landed roles in films like A River Runs Through It, 1992, California, 1993, and Legends of the Fall, 1994. Each role built on his image as more than just a pretty face. But it was that cowboy drifter in Thelma and Louise, less than 10 minutes of screen time, that opened the floodgates. Key, the symbol of arrival. Every actor dreams of that one role, the one that introduces them to the world. For Brad Pitt, Thelma and Louise was that role. It was the key that unlocked everything. The proof that years of rejection, survival jobs, and persistence were worth it. He was no longer just William Bradley Pitt from Springfield, Missouri. He was Brad Pitt, Hollywood's next great star. The 1990s were the decade when Brad Pitt transformed from a rising star into a global icon. It was during these years that he proved he was not just another handsome face in Hollywood, he was an actor of range, power, and depth. After his breakthrough in Thelma and Louise, the offers rolled in. And Brad Pitt made bold choices, refusing to be boxed into one image. In Robert Redford's A River Runs Through It, Brad played Paul McLean, the rebellious younger brother of a family growing up in Montana. It was a role that demanded quiet strength and emotional nuance, and Brad delivered. His performance cemented his reputation as a serious actor. Critics saw more than good looks, they saw potential for greatness. The film itself was lyrical and poetic, and Brad's presence elevated it. Audiences began to understand that he could carry dramatic weight. Brad wasn't afraid to go darker. In California, he played Early Grace, a violent drifter, a performance that was raw, unsettling, and a sharp contrast to his romantic image. In True Romance, directed by Tony Scott, he appeared as Floyd, a stoner roommate. Though a small part, his comedic timing and laid-back delivery made Floyd unforgettable. These roles showed his versatility. He could play the heartthrob, the villain, or the comic relief with equal ease. Then came Legends of the Fall. As Tristan Ludlow, the wild, passionate son of a Montana rancher, Brad Pitt delivered one of the most iconic performances of his career. The film was a sweeping epic, filled with romance, war, and tragedy. Brad's portrayal of Tristan, rugged, intense, untamed, made him a true leading man. His long-haired image from the film became legendary, appearing on posters and magazine covers worldwide. Women adored him. Men admired him. Hollywood realized it had its next great star. But Brad Pitt wasn't content with only romantic leads. In David Fincher's Seven, he played Detective David Mills, hunting a serial killer alongside Morgan Freeman. The film was dark, haunting, and unforgettable. Brad's performance, especially in the film's devastating climax, showed emotional depth and raw intensity. The line, "What's in the box?" became one of the most chilling and quoted moments in cinema history. Seven proved that Brad could anchor serious, disturbing films and hold his own against veteran actors. If one film defined the late 1990s for Brad Pitt, it was Fight Club. As Tyler Durden, the anarchic, magnetic leader of an underground fight club, Brad embodied rebellion and danger. His performance was charismatic and fearless, making Tyler Durden one of the most iconic characters in modern cinema. Though controversial at the time, Fight Club became a cultural phenomenon. It wasn't just a movie, it was a statement, and Brad Pitt was its beating heart. By the end of the 1990s, Brad Pitt had worked with some of the best directors in Hollywood: Robert Redford, Tony Scott, David Fincher, Edward Zwick. He had proven he could do romance, drama, thriller, and satire. He had become more than just an actor. He was a symbol of Hollywood itself, representing both the glamour and the grit of the industry. The boy from Missouri was now one of the most recognized and respected stars in the world. The 2000s were the years Brad Pitt cemented his place not only as one of the world's most bankable stars but also as a man willing to reinvent himself, take risks, and step behind the camera as a visionary producer. This was the decade when Brad Pitt became not just an actor, but a global icon. In 2004, Brad took on one of his most physically demanding roles, Achilles in Troy. The epic, inspired by Homer's Iliad, required months of training and preparation. Brad transformed himself into the legendary warrior, muscular, fierce, and commanding. Though critics were divided on the film, Brad's performance was undeniable. He had the presence of a true cinematic hero, showing that he could carry massive international blockbusters. In contrast, Brad also took on roles of emotional depth. In The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, directed by David Fincher, Brad played a man who ages backward. It was a challenging role, one that required subtlety, vulnerability, and grace. The film was a sweeping meditation on life, love, and mortality. Brad's performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, proving once again that he could balance artistry with spectacle. During this decade, Brad also found success in lighter fare. The Ocean's 11 trilogy, where he starred as Rusty Ryan alongside George Clooney, became a global phenomenon. Brad's cool, effortless charisma brought levity and charm, making him part of one of cinema's most stylish ensembles. In 2005, Brad starred opposite Angelina Jolie in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, a high-octane mix of action, comedy, and romance. The film wasn't just a box office hit, it was a cultural event. The on-screen chemistry between Brad and Angelina sparked headlines worldwide, as their partnership soon extended off-screen. Though his marriage to Jennifer Aniston ended during this time, Brad's personal life became one of the most followed stories in Hollywood. He and Angelina Jolie, nicknamed Brangelina, became one of the most powerful couples in the world. Perhaps the most important development of the 2000s was Brad's move into producing. Through his company, Plan B Entertainment, he began championing projects that mattered. Films like The Departed, 2006, which won the Academy Award for Best Picture, showed his instincts as a producer were as sharp as his skills as an actor. This wasn't just about making blockbusters. Brad Pitt was shaping cinema behind the scenes, backing bold directors and meaningful stories. Beyond Hollywood, Brad also made his mark in philanthropy. After Hurricane Katrina in 2005, he launched the Make It Right Foundation, working to build affordable, sustainable homes in New Orleans. His efforts combined design, architecture, and social responsibility, proving that he was more than a movie star. He was using his platform to create real change. Trophy reinvention and recognition. By the close of the 2000s, Brad Pitt had proven himself in every arena. As an action star, Troy, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. As a dramatic lead, Benjamin Button. As a comedic presence, Ocean's 11. As a producer shaping Hollywood's future, The Departed. He was no longer just one of the biggest stars in the world. He had become a force, in front of the camera, behind the camera, and beyond the screen. Fame often gives us the illusion of perfection. On the screen, Brad Pitt seemed untouchable, the charming hero, the rebel, the romantic. But behind the curtain of Hollywood, his personal life was filled with struggles, heartbreak, and battles that revealed the human being beneath the icon. And perhaps more than any other star of his generation, Brad's private life became public spectacle. Red-heart marriage to Jennifer Aniston. In 2000, Brad married actress Jennifer Aniston, America's sweetheart and star of the hit show Friends. Their marriage was celebrated by fans and splashed across magazine covers. They were seen as Hollywood's golden couple, glamorous, successful, and seemingly perfect together. But under the glare of constant attention, pressures grew. By 2005, their marriage ended in divorce. The breakup became one of the most publicized stories in entertainment, with tabloids dissecting every rumor, every headline. Though both Brad and Jennifer tried to handle the split with grace, the pain of losing a relationship in front of the entire world was immense. Soon after, Brad's relationship with Angelina Jolie became official. They had met on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and their chemistry had been undeniable. Together, they became Brangelina, one of the most famous couples on earth. Their relationship was not just about glamour, it was also about family and philanthropy. Brad and Angelina raised 6 children, a mix of biological and adopted, creating a diverse, global family. They became advocates for humanitarian causes, traveling the world, speaking out on issues from refugees to education. For years, they seemed unstoppable. But behind closed doors, cracks began to appear. In 2016, Angelina filed for divorce. The split was bitter and highly public, involving custody battles and painful revelations. For Brad, it was one of the lowest moments of his life. Wilted Flower struggles with addiction. During this period, Brad also faced his own inner demons. He admitted publicly to struggling with alcohol abuse, acknowledging that it had hurt his relationships and his role as a father. The weight of fame, the pressure of public scrutiny, and personal heartbreak pushed him into darkness. But instead of hiding, Brad confronted his struggles head-on. He entered recovery, embraced sobriety, and began therapy. In interviews, he spoke with honesty about his flaws, his regrets, and his journey to healing. It was a rare moment in Hollywood, a superstar admitting vulnerability, showing that even icons stumble, and that true strength lies in getting back up. Seedling a journey of healing. In the years that followed, Brad focused on rebuilding. He worked to strengthen his relationship with his children, even as custody battles continued. He leaned on friends, including fellow actors, who had faced their own struggles with addiction and recovery. Most of all, he learned to live with greater honesty and simplicity. He once said, "You carry some shame and guilt for things you did in your life. But the real human story is about getting back up and moving forward." And that is exactly what Brad did. Milky Way human behind the legend. The world often sees only the polished version of celebrities. But Brad Pitt's personal life revealed a man of complexity, someone who knew love, loss, failure, and redemption. Far from diminishing him, these struggles made him more relatable, more human. They reminded us that behind the glamour of stardom lies the same fragility and resilience found in all of us. The late 2010s marked a renaissance for Brad Pitt, not only as an actor but as a man who had endured storms and emerged stronger. In 2019, Brad starred in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, directed by Quentin Tarantino. Playing Cliff Booth, a laid-back stuntman and loyal friend, Brad delivered one of the finest performances of his career. The role earned him the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in 2020, his first acting Oscar. It was more than an award. It was validation. After decades of fame, struggle, and growth, Brad Pitt was finally recognized by the highest honor in his field. But his contributions extended far beyond acting. Through Plan B Entertainment, he produced some of the most important films of the century, 12 Years a Slave, Moonlight, The Big Short. Each of these films won the Academy Award for Best Picture, cementing Brad as not just a performer, but a visionary shaping the future of cinema. Off-screen, Brad continued his humanitarian work. His Make It Right Foundation built homes for families displaced by Hurricane Katrina. He invested in sustainable architecture, promoting green design and rebuilding communities with dignity. Brad Pitt was no longer just the Hollywood heartthrob of the 1990s. He had become a force for change, an artist, a philanthropist, and a man who had embraced both his gifts and his scars. Today, Brad Pitt remains one of Hollywood's most enduring figures. Decades after his debut, his name still commands attention, his performances still captivate audiences, and his choices still shape the industry. He is now in his 60s, and his career continues with the same passion and curiosity that drove him to Los Angeles as a restless young man. He still acts, still produces, and still seeks roles that challenge and inspire. But what makes Brad's story remarkable is not just the films he's made or the awards he's won. It is the way he has grown. He has faced heartbreak, addiction, divorce, and the brutal glare of public scrutiny. Yet he has rebuilt himself with humility. He has used his fame to amplify important voices, to create films that matter, and to help communities in need. For millions around the world, Brad Pitt is more than a movie star. He is proof that greatness is not about avoiding struggle but about rising after the fall, again and again. And so, we honor William Bradley Pitt, born in 1963 in Shawnee, Oklahoma, the boy from Missouri who became one of the most recognizable faces in cinema, and yet never stopped searching for depth, truth, and meaning. He has given us characters we will never forget: Tristan Ludlow, David Mills, Tyler Durden, Rusty Ryan, Cliff Booth. He has produced films that reshaped Hollywood. He has inspired with his honesty, showing the world that even legends are human. Brad Pitt's legacy is not written in perfection but in resilience. It is written in every risk he took, every role he embodied, every setback he overcame, and every story he chose to tell. He remains, even today, a living legend of cinema, a reminder that stars are not born overnight, but forged through struggle, passion, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. This is Brad Pitt's story, a story still being written. Person with praying hands to honor their memory, please like this video, subscribe to Gone Legends, and share it with others who cherish the legends we've lost.